So much for joining us today. My name is Amber. I'm the Health Education Grants and Survivorship Coordinator for the Middlesex Health Cancer Center. So we're really pleased to offer survivorship activities and learning opportunities for you all today, like the one that we're having today. For this awesome demonstration and information session, we have our two oncology dietitians with us today. Both Amy and Mary are going to give us some information about healthy eating budget and also give us some healthy recipes to try. For those of you who are joining us in person, we have some samples. So I'm going to go ahead and kick it over to them.
Hello. So I'm going to start today. My name is Amy, which Amber just told you. I work down in the Westbrook Cancer Center, and Mary is in Middletown. And so today we're going to talk about healthy eating on a budget and hopefully help you to eat healthy and still make those healthy choices and not break the bank at the grocery store, because I think people think that you're not able to eat healthy and still stay within your budget, but it is possible. Just takes a little bit of some time and planning. So that's what we'll start with today. I'm going to start with the planning piece, then I'll pass it over to Mary and she'll talk about purchasing and preparing, and then we'll do some fun recipes and demonstrations, and then if you want to try them, you can. So the planning piece, basically, why do we plan? We want to plan because it will save us time in the long run, and it will also save us money. If we don't have a plan in place, then those are the times when we're aimlessly walking around the grocery store. We are grabbing things that we might not need just because we think, oh, we might like this. It's going to reduce those impulse buys if we try to have a plan in place. Then we get to the cashier and then we're in sticker shock. We don't know why. It's because of those impulse buys. So if we try to make a plan, go to the grocery store one time instead of those more times you go in, that's when we get into trouble. So having a plan to reduce that, and also reduces stress, because if you have a plan in place and you know what you're going to be having for the week, it reduces that stress of what am I going to do, what am I going to make, and it helps you to. Sometimes when we get into those situations, we might not make the healthiest choices because we are hungry, and we might just, do something that we could have prevented by just putting a plan in place. So that's why we plan. So I just wanted to start with how to do it. So I would start with first, what is your budget? Everyone's budget is different. So just starting with how much do I have to afford for groceries, and set aside that, and then you know what to base your weekly grocery store shopping on. Figure out what your bills are and what you have left over for the groceries. First, what I would do to start with is see what you already have in your house when you go to make your plan for the week. I would look into your freezer, I would look in your pantries, look in your cabinets, your refrigerator, and kind of base what you're going to do for the week on what you already have, because then you're going to save some money. If you don't have anything, well, then you're going to have to buy something, and that's kind of why I did share. There is a sheet on your desks stocking your kitchen. So that's something that you could do, so that way when you go to make your plan for the week, you already have a stocked kitchen with those healthy ingredients. I'm not going to go over every single ingredient, but things that you might want on hand might be whole grains. So oatmeal is a really good one, barley, quinoa, whole grain brown rice. You can whole wheat pasta. Those are some inexpensive foods that we can kind of grab, and something with canned tomatoes, low sodium broths, vegetable, beef, or chicken broth, vegetables that are frozen. If you see those on sale, throw those into your freezer. So then you can kind of, when you go to make a meal, you can kind of whip something easy up by just having those ingredients already in your house. So I would definitely try to look at that list, and just if you see sales, stock up. And another one I didn't mention is beans. Beans are really something good to have in your pantry so you can whip up a meal with. All right, so we did that. And so the first thing I would do is when you are going to make your plan for the week, I would look at what your week looks like. You don't want to plan a meal that might be a lot of ingredients and a lot of prep on a day that you know that you might have a late doctor's appointment or something to do, and then it's 6 o'clock and there's no way you're going to make that. So try to set your week and your meals based on what you know that you have going on. If you know you have more time on, and Mary will go into this more with the preparing piece, but if you know you have more time on a Sunday to kind of meal prep or make a couple things, then that will set you up for the week. And then maybe leftovers might be a good thing for that day where you know you're going to be home late. There are some meal planning apps that you could use. I personally don't use any of them, but we did include a list of those meal planning apps you can take a look at. I did check out one of them. It was it myplate.gov? They have a really good website and it kind of goes over recipes, it goes over how to meal plan. So you could, if that's kind of your thing, you can look at that. If not, you can just look at your own calendar and plan on your own. You don't need to necessarily have a meal planning app. So when you go to look at what you're going to do for the week, I would start with, oh boy. I would start with looking at the sales and the flyers. You don't want to plan your meals and you're going to do salmon and then, oh, salmon is so expensive this week. So that wouldn't be probably something you would want to have in your meal plan. So look at wherever you go to the grocery store. You can look at other stores. Maybe they have some better sales than where you normally go. And then base what you're making on what is on sale for the week. And those deals. And Mary, again, will go over more of this, but there's coupon clipping apps as well. We included those. I only use one of them, and it does take a little bit of time because you have to add those food items, and sometimes you have to submit a receipt. Sometimes it's linked already to your card. It will save you money, but it does take a little bit of time. I use Ibotta, but and again, it's not for everyone, but if you're looking to save a little bit more money, you could cash out after $20, the one that I use. It can save you money, but again, it's a little bit of extra time too. And then again, about saving money is the loyalty cards. Whatever store you go to, definitely take advantage of their loyalty cards. Most of the stores have an app also that you can go onto your phone and make sure you clip those coupons before you go. And also there are reward points that I don't think anyone really tells you about these things. You kind of just have to stumble upon it, but you can put those onto your card and then save money, especially if there's a store that you go to more often. So definitely check out those. You'll save money with that. All right, so, and then when you go to make your grocery list, you're gonna review recipes. So based on those sale items, there's a lot of links that we also have included on there. And these are really good websites where you can kind of just click on a button. Okay, I want chicken this week because chicken's on sale, and it will go over and list all healthy recipes that have chicken. Maybe also include just recipes that don't have a ton of ingredients because those are going to take probably longer. And if you don't have those items in the house, it's going to be a lot more work and money. So I think I would start maybe with some easier, healthier recipes. And then there is also another form. It kind of breaks it up. There's a budget planning meal planning guide. And just when you go to meal plan, just try to think of all those food groups. You don't want to just go to the grocery store and come home with a bunch of carbs and protein and miss out on all those other food items. So just kind of get a nice mix of your fruits, your vegetables, your whole grains, your lean proteins, your healthy fats. Just try to make sure that every meal that you're having is, balanced. And just some simple tips is, actually, let me see. Also focus on nutritious, low budget items. So those would be beans. Beans are really good for us and they are budget friendly. So having meals that have more beans in them. Peanut butter is pretty inexpensive and a good source of protein. Putting that on like a whole grain English muffin versus something like butter, where it's not going to give you much protein. That is a good one. Fish can be expensive, but if we buy it in the canned version, it's still going to be healthy for us. So canned salmon, canned tuna, crab. There's also canned chicken, if you want to go that route. Lentils, peas. We've talked about the oats, brown rice, grain pasta, whole grain pasta, and fresh or frozen are great for vegetables and for fruit. But if you really can't afford it, you can always buy canned. I would just do canned fruit in its own juice versus the heavy syrup, and I would also just make sure that the canned vegetables are rinsed really well, and you can also just look for low sodium to start them. So that's what I would do for that. And also with potatoes. So either white potatoes, sweet potatoes, that's something that you can base a meal around as well. That's pretty inexpensive. And let's see. And this, a couple tips. Try to save money, eating out less. So, maybe make your coffee at home versus grabbing it out. Maybe making, breakfast at home versus grabbing it out. Packing our lunches instead of going out to eat. So going out to eat is really expensive. So if we try to do it less, we're going to save money. And then, again, I know you're going to talk about this, but stretching our meals, like I just said before, maybe on a day where you have a lot of time, you want to roast a chicken. That's great. But then maybe the next night, depending on how big your family is, you can use that leftover chicken, throw that into a soup or a stew. Maybe you might have some more left. You can use that in a wrap sandwich or something like that. So you just want to look at some meals where you can stretch it, because that's going to also save money. And I think this is it. Yes. So meat is really expensive. I think that might be one of the most expensive things at the grocery store. So you could also plan some more plant-based options like beans, lentils, more whole grains. If meat is something that you really don't want to do without, you can also half that. Maybe just do half of the ground beef or ground turkey and use lentils or peas in there. So then that you're stretching that meat to make it last a little longer. So that's also an option. And I had to throw it in there. I don't do it. I wish I did, but growing a garden. Growing a vegetable garden is going to save you money, or an herb garden. Every year I'm going to make an herb garden, and I haven't yet, but maybe one of these days, and save some money that way. But you can also do that.
Okay, so now we're headed to the grocery store and we're going to be purchasing our food for our meals that we just planned for. One tip is don't shop when you're hungry. That leads to impulse buys, and impulse buys generally are more expensive and not as healthy. Loyalty cards, we're going to do a lot of crossover in what we're talking about. Loyalty cards, store brands like Bread and Basket at ShopRite, and coupons such as I shop at BJ's, so I have the app and I clip all my coupons before I even leave my house. And that way I just show them my card and all those coupon deductions are taken off when I check out. And in the store too, sometimes you'll have like a rack of bread that's a day old. That's less expensive for French toast or whatever you might be using that for. If you're using it right away, if you're having company, that's a nice option. They still last a little longer. And then I incorporated a handout about unit price, so you can kind of get an idea of how to assess that. The unit price, when you're comparing like Goya beans to Bread and Basket, it'll show you really quickly what's more affordable. And that's all explained in that handout. Let's see. Fresh produce, if it's in season, tends to be more affordable. So knowing what's in season, and also more nutritious as well. I like to organize my grocery list. I'm one that hand writes it out. I don't use an app for it, but I have friends that do. I'm like, this looks so much more organized. but I write it out based on the sections of the grocery store. And that helps to keep me in check and avoiding like the chip aisle, soda aisle, and just sticking to foods that I need on my list and crossing them out as I go and just, trying to interfere from that. So it pays to kind of know your grocery store. A new grocery store might take some time, but pretty soon you'll know your grocery store and how to set up your list. Like Amy said, canned and frozen fruits and vegetables are generally less expensive. Frozen vegetables are just as good as fresh, and sometimes they're frozen at the peak of ripeness. And looking at the ingredient list, all that's in this is green beans. There are frozen vegetables that have butter sauces and salt added, so you just want to be aware of that. I bought one of those once by accident and cooked it, and my children were like, "What is this?" Because they were used to just the fresh. That's a really great way to save money. Frozen fruit and smoothies is a nice option, especially in the off-season months. And canned fruits and vegetables can also be a healthy options, like Amy was saying. Canned fruit in its own juice and canned vegetables can be incorporated. There are no salt added varieties and lower sodium option available, and rinsing it always helps. Like with the beans, I rinse them for my recipe. Shopping in, typically most grocery stores have some more aisles with like bulk sized items. So like with flour and like the big sacks of rice. And so if you're cooking a lot with certain grains, those kinds of things, you can save money buying in bulk. Also, if you shop at Costco, BJ's, or Walmart, they have a lot more options when we're talking about bulk. And that can save you quite a bit of money. And we do know that convenience foods are always more expensive. So a butternut squash that's already cut up is going to be a lot more money than the actual butternut squash that you have to cut yourself. Or even carrots. Carrots are easy to peel and chop. But they do sell the shredded carrots or the carrot chips, but those are going to cost you more. So keeping that in mind, a little extra work pays off. And then Amy already mentioned some of the less expensive protein options like peanut butter, beans, lentils. Those are good things to have in your pantry that are shelf stable. Let's see. So now for preparing. Pre-cooking and pre-chopping. So during the week, you might be busier than on the weekend, but that can vary from person to person depending on what your schedule looks like. So picking a day or two during the week, kind of spread out, have a good time to do some prep. So for instance, my food processor, if I'm making 3 different recipes that week that contain carrots, I'll shred a bunch of carrots on a Sunday. I can throw it in salad during the week for lunches. I can throw it in stir fries, soups, and that work is done on a Sunday when I have more time. And that's just one example. Having frozen vegetables on hand to throw in a soup helps save time too. Fall in love with your freezer. So doubling up on recipes can help a lot, especially if you have certain days during the week, like Amy said, if you have late appointments. Wednesday's a really busy day, and sometimes, I have some neighbors, they have young kids, and they have all these activities, and there's at least 2 days a week that they're doing takeout. But if you prepare like big batches of soups or those kinds of things, and freeze, like double up and freeze a portion, you'll be happy to know, oh, I just have that in my freezer, take it out the night before, and you're all set for those busy nights. That saves your budget, and you're also eating more nutritious food versus like pizza and grinders and things like that have a lot more fat and calories, less fiber. And then getting creative with leftovers, like Amy mentioned, you can go a long way with one whole chicken. You can have it baked, and then you could shred it, use it in salads, wraps, throw it in soups, make a chicken salad with it. There's a lot you could do to kind of spread out those higher protein food, the higher cost, animal sources of protein like chicken and other things.
Slow cooker. Really, I make soups a lot. And I know we've given you a lot of recipes, but sometimes I don't even follow a recipe. If my pantry is packed with beans and things on a regular basis, I know I can just throw together a soup with having some low sodium box broth, throw it in, even in a Dutch oven on the stove, whether it's a slow cooker or on the stove. Throw in some broth, throw in some frozen vegetables, throw in some beans. If I have some potatoes, I can dice those up, put them in, or some brown rice, or even quinoa. And you have a well-balanced, ready to go meal pretty quickly. The box broth definitely helps speed up that process. Yeah. And I think that's about it. We can get into our demo piece. Sure. Summary after? Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Right, do you want me to start?
Yeah.
Okay. All right, so my recipe today is, I chose this because it's super easy. And it's called 15-minute Mediterranean chickpea salad. I do have to say, it took me longer than 15 minutes because it always does. I didn't go to culinary school. I don't chop. I don't know, how fast these people chop, but it was easy. It just wasn't 15 minutes. But today will be a lot easier because I meal prepped everything today. But I love this recipe because the salad portion of it is only 6 ingredients, and then the dressing, which is balsamic vinaigrette.
Is it here in our folder?
It should be, yep.
It's right on top, actually. The recipes we're making are right on top.
Did you find it?
There it is.
Okay, perfect. So we're gonna start with the base of this. Oh, first of all, this recipe, it does call for vegan feta cheese. I did make one yesterday and I left the cheese out of it, but today's I'm just using regular feta. So if anyone doesn't eat cheese, they can try the other one. And it does taste a little bit probably better when it marinates overnight, which the other one did. This one might be a little strong because of the red onion, but so we're gonna start with, I rinsed these garbanzo beans. So chickpeas, this is what is in the main ingredient of this salad. So were rinsed and dried prior to coming here, and calls for 1.5 cups, and which is basically a 15-ounce can of beans. So I'm going to pour that in here. And then the next ingredient is a cup of cubed cherry tomatoes. You can quarter them, you can half them depending on how big they are, but I think that if you just do bite-sized pieces, it's just gonna look better and it's gonna be better. So we're gonna pour that in here. It's about 3/4 of a pint of tomatoes. And tomatoes are, the red coloring right here is the lycopene, which is the antioxidant. They're a really good source of potassium and really good for us. So we are going to add that. Vitamin C. And then we have the onions, which is red. I know, 1/2 of a large onion. So again, this is a recipe where you could just double it up. So when I did it yesterday, and when I was chopping, I used half the ingredients for that one, and then but you could just have it all for yourself, and then it's a good side dish, and it's also something where you can make it bigger if you wanted and add more protein to it. If you had, let's say, shrimp in the freezer, maybe cod on sale, you want to put cod on top of it, or tuna, you can kind of make it however you want to, have it. Somebody in the review section had a whole wheat pita, and then they put this salad into the pita. Grilled chicken you can throw onto it, so there's a lot of different options. And then, so this was 1 cup of cubed English cucumber. You can use a regular cucumber if you wanted. I just think that the English cucumber has, it's seedless and the outside isn't as coarse. So if you were going to use a regular cucumber, I would just peel it, and you would just want to, this is 1/2 of a cucumber. So you would just want to, slice it down the middle and then slice it down the middle again and just chop it up so you have little quarter size. So we'll add that. And cucumbers are really good source of hydration. And then we have it's just 1/4 cup of cheese, which is I'm going to add in there. Kind of gives a really that Mediterranean taste. And then lastly, a half a cup of chopped parsley. Just want to make sure that the stems are removed when you do chop it all up. And whatever you have left over, you can kind of you can use that for the rest of the week because you're not going to use the entire stalk of parsley. If you don't want to buy parsley, you can always use a dried parsley. It just probably won't have as powerful flavor as the fresh, but it's pretty inexpensive, fresh herbs. So we're going to add that in there. And parsley is a really good source of vitamin C, vitamin A, vitamin K. So that's pretty much the salad. So we have 6 ingredients there. And then I'm just going to whip this up here. I just measured everything out before I came. So the dressing is a 1/4 cup of extra virgin olive oil. So I'm going to pour that in here. And then you could also just make more, and that way you have it for salads for the week. Let's see. A tablespoon of balsamic vinegar, add that in there. And then you can also leave the salt out if you don't want to use any sodium, but this is a 1/2 teaspoon of salt, which is going to be this is going to be less sodium than, let's say, a bottled dressing. And then a 1/4 teaspoon of pepper. Again, if you don't like pepper, or you can kind of make it however you want. If you don't like tomatoes, you can use red pepper. You can add avocado to this if you wanted to. If you don't like chickpeas, you can throw in black beans. You can just do whatever you want if there's something in here that you don't like. And then I used lemon, just squeezed a lemon. This is 2 teaspoons of fresh lemon juice. There, you can use lime. And then just a teaspoon of the Dijon mustard. Hopefully I can get out of here. Given it's a lot easier when you have everything ready. But most of the time, but you can see it's not that much to chop up. So, and then that's your dressing. And we are going to just whip this up really quickly. Don't have a whisk, but that might have been something good to pack. And then you just pour this over. I think this might be, if you do find shrimp on sale and you like shrimp, this would be probably really good with shrimp. And just so you know, I priced out a couple different places around me. Pasta Vita, I think Mystic Market, a couple other restaurants, and something similar would cost you around $10.95 to $14. And it's not going to be, this is about 4 servings. So depending on if you use it as a side or a main meal. If you use it as a main meal, you're probably looking at maybe 2 servings. If you doubled it, you're going to have for the week. So it's something it looks really nice. I think the more color that we have in our diet, the healthier it's going to be for us. The American Cancer Society and American Institute of Cancer Research, they want us to eat more colors. Every meal that you're eating, just kind of, how much color do I have here? Because that's where you're going to get those phytochemicals, the antioxidants that are so good for us. So there you have it. So again, this one is going to be a little bit stronger. If you don't like onion, you're probably not going to like this one, but you can always. So again, quicker because I had everything prepped. So if you know that you want to make this, and you can always just kind of put everything, cut it all up and keep it in a little sealed containers. And then when you're ready to make it, you just whip it up together and it's pretty quick. So after Mary's done, we can always try it out if you want to. I can get my other one too if you don't want cheese.
All right, so I'm going to demonstrate a slow cooker minestrone soup. And this recipe is dairy-free and gluten-free, and it's also vegetarian. I did put shredded parm on the side of the already cooked soup in case you do want to add a little cheese, but that's optional. So the first ingredient is broth, vegetable broth, which is Another reason why it's vegetarian, you could use chicken broth. And just to point out, let's see where I put that. So oh, that wasn't the one, it was the tomatoes. Okay, so each box of broth is about 4 cups, and this calls for 6 cups. This serves up approximately 10 people. And I already measured out this. So you see what I've done here. The regular vegetable broth was on sale, and the lower sodium one was not. So I did like a half and half to make it less sodium. Sometimes the low sodium is on sale. It really just depends. Sure.
The bouillon. I buy the no salt bouillon. Is
Yes.
that a substitute for
Yes.
any of the broth?
Yeah, you just reconstitute it based on the instructions on the package. That's a great question. Yes. Definitely useful again. Okay, then the diced tomato, about 20 ounces of canned diced tomatoes. So just throw that right in there. Yeah, it was the tomatoes. So the Hunt's diced tomatoes were 3 for $6 at ShopRite, which is about $2 a can. And the bowl and basket version was $1.69 a can. So it looked like it was a better price, 3 for $6, but really when you looked at it, the generic was less expensive. And then at Costco, if you were to buy in bulk, the Hunt's diced tomatoes and as an 8-pack, it's actually less expensive than the bowl and basket at $1.24 a can. So buying at the bigger, the stores that sell things in bulk kind of pays off. Okay, and I already opened and drained the beans. We have cannelli beans and kidney beans, 1 can each. I drained them and rinsed them. And then we have 2 cups of frozen green beans. And like Amy said, you could always substitute out different ingredients. And we have about 4 medium carrots. I grated this in my food processor. You can easily chop it as well. It depends on how you like it. And I do have this fun little chopper. It's nice and easy where you just put the ingredients in and it chops it really quickly for you. So things like that can make it easier.
Where'd you get that?
I don't know if it was like a TJ Maxx or something like that. I think you can get those on Amazon too. You can get them. And then we have a medium zucchini. Okay, a stalk of celery. I have everything already ready to go. And then 1 onion. See how many vegetables are in this soup. And then we have a bay leaf. So you'll see these are bowl and basket herbs. Some, the herbs go a long way and, you can have them in your pantry for a long time. So the generic version is generally more affordable, but I also wanted to point out that the dollar store has spices for $1.25, which is really affordable. We're buying them in bulk. BJ's has a bunch of spices in bulk. And then we have Italian seasoning, about 2 tablespoons. Gives it a lot of flavor. And dried herbs even have phytochemicals. So fresh and dried are the best health benefits. 4 garlic cloves. A lot of health benefits to garlic. And it calls for a teaspoon of salt. What I generally do at my house is I put the salt shaker out and I don't add salt to recipes because there's salt in the broth, there's salt in the beans, there's salt in the Parmesan cheese. So our palate's just gotten used to less added salt. And then pepper, about 3/4 teaspoon. So a lot of this you might already have in your house, the dried herbs and the pepper. And And then you let that cook for about 7 to 8 hours on low. And at about 15 minutes until it's done cooking, you add, I use gluten-free pasta because I wasn't sure if anyone was gluten-free here. You could use whole wheat pasta, you could use quinoa, you could use brown rice. But this calls for a cup of cooked pasta. And you put that in 15 minutes before you serve it. And then 2 cups of fresh spinach at the end too. You just mix it all together and then it's pretty much ready to go. My children and I eat this soup. It's very filling because it has a lot of fiber. And it is only 134 calories a serving. So if you think about, so comparing that to Applebee's. So Applebee's is nice because it has the calories on the menu. One of their pasta entrees will be about 1,300 to 1,500 calories. And for a 5-foot woman, maybe your calories for the whole day are 1,500 calories. So their bowls that they have at Applebee's are upwards of 800 calories, and their burgers and fries run about 1,200 to 1,700 calories. So this is only 134 calories, the whole meal, and it's very filling. And for anybody watching carbohydrates, this is under 2 servings of carbohydrates, so that fits into any diabetic meal plan. And you're getting a lot of nutrition here. You're getting a variety of color, a variety of phytochemicals. This is good for our immune health, our eye health, cardiac health. It supports gut health, and all these things help protect us against chronic disease in general. All the fiber, vitamins, minerals, and phytochemicals. And let's see. Yeah, so I mentioned, I mentioned the beans and the tomatoes and the spices. I just wanted to kind of compare some entrees for cost. So if we're talking like breakfast, oatmeal you can buy in bulk at Walmart, for example, and you can buy it in bulk other places too. And it turns out to be about 40 cents a serving, 40 cents for a half a cup, 40 cents for a breakfast. If you want to add some blueberries to that, a lot of us think that fruit is very expensive, but it turns out the blueberries at Walmart are only 75 cents for a quarter cup. So you're putting little blueberries in with your oatmeal, and that runs you about $1.15. But if you ate the same thing at the diner, and we generally think of diners being more affordable compared to fancy restaurants, oatmeal at Athenian Diner is $3.99, and a fruit salad is $4.99. So that's going to run you about $9. So that's a huge saving, just eating at home. Dinner, so this dinner per serving is less than $2 a person. And if we're looking at Applebee's, generally speaking, entrees, including burgers, are about $17 and up per serving. And even the appetizers can be that expensive. Everything's just gotten more expensive eating out. And Amy pointed out to me that she found some the Bob's Red Mill grains at Ocean State Job Lot for really good cost. So yeah, so it pays to shop around and to know your source. Buy certain things at BJ's, buy certain things at State Job Lot, get to know where you can save money and time.
Yeah, I don't shop at Aldi's because I don't have it near me, but a lot of people love Aldi's.
Yes, my mom shops a lot at Aldi's. She likes the meats there and they're more affordable.
Mary, you mentioned earlier about that you don't always follow a recipe, but this is a good springboard because
Yes.
it gives you basics. You kind of make it your own, and maybe you don't want spinach, but you want to put kale in it, something else. This is a great base, a great foundation. Make it your own, and I love this. It's great. Both of the recipes. Good.
And there isn't a handout in the back. So before you leave, grab that. It's 50 recipes that don't have a recipe. Things that you can just throw together, which is nice.
Where is that?
It's on this table, so when we're all done, you can feel free to try the recipes and grab some more handouts, try some organ shakes.
Can we taste that salad?
Oh, definitely.
Yes,
So,
soup's there.
you know, I'll just quickly summarize what we talked about, but, and I don't remember, because I'm just kind of talking a lot. Did I tell you how much this was to make?
No.
So this recipe, and you priced out what I used. It was like $8.14 of what I used. So again, that's pretty cheap, and it's the bean based. Beans are really cheap and they're so good for us. They're good for our gut microbiomes, they're heart healthy, packed with fiber, great source of protein. So more, if you like beans, something to definitely include. So I'll quickly just summarize, why is meal planning important? Saves us time, saves us money, reduces the stress surrounding eating every day, and for the week. And then just to try to remember the 3 Ps. So planning, easy meals, easy snacks, for the week, a step according to your established budget. And then purchasing, so like Mary said, shopping when you're not too rushed, shopping when you're not too hungry is a big one, because you're gonna end up with something that you probably shouldn't have had. Using the loyalty cards, the coupons, and I think most importantly, sticking to your list, because the more we veer off that list, then we're gonna end up spending more. And then preparing, lastly, saving time by preparing meal items ahead of time, pre-cooking on the days that you might have more time, doubling up on recipes is a huge one, whether you're gonna use it for the week or not, throw it in your freezer. Because when that day comes where you really want something and you don't feel like making something, there it is. And you'll be happy that you just stood there a little bit longer and chopped. And then, like Mary said, using the slow cooker. So again, an air fryer is really also fast and helpful. And also, what am I missing? Instant pot. I don't use it as much, but these are big bulky items, but in the end will save us some time. And I think just this is a lot of information. I would just say, just maybe start with small changes, maybe stocking your cabinets when you find sales, going to Joblot or wherever that has a really good sale on those shelf staple items. So that way you're setting yourself up for saving money in the long run, maybe starting there, or maybe just choosing a couple easy recipes that you want to try out this week or next week. Or just trying maybe some more meatless options in your week that you might not normally have and see. Just get creative, I think, and just bottom line, have fun with it. And then maybe in the end, you'll save a little money and eat healthy.